Hello Bandifans! Now there are many toy lines that are never released. The one that sticks in recent memory would be the second wave of NECA's Crash Bandicoot figures, which would have included hyper-detailed and articulated Dr. Neo Cortex and Coco Bandicoot figures. They look so cool! But NECA claims that they didn't get enough support, so perhaps Crash just wasn't popular enough in 2019. However, in 1999, at the peak of the franchise's success, the ReSaurus Crash Bandicoot toy line also had its fair share of unreleased toys. Many of them are action figures that we'll cover in another video, but in this video we are going to focus on the plush toys that never made it, specifically ReSaurus' large-sized Bendable Plush Toys. We'll look at the history of these plushes, what they were, why they were made, and why they were never released. We'll also take a look at all of the previously unknown prototypes that I've managed to unearth, as well as how I came to own one of these historical items, so we can take a closer look, and the moment I unboxed it. So let's dive in. For the 1999 Toy Fair, ReSaurus had a booth of their own, where they showed off lots of their new toys. Among them was Series 1 of the Crash Bandicoot line, which was released in 1998, the previous year, as well as the new prototypes for Series 2. Among this awesome display were the smaller plush toys as well, evidenced by this image of Cortex hanging up in the background. But another set of plush toys were also present. That's right, 3 large plush toys. And judging by the way Coco is sitting, with her legs outstretched and unable to touch the floor, these must be quite stiff plush toys. In this image we can see Coco Bandicoot, Dr. Neo Cortex, and Crash Bandicoot. But what are they? Well, those lucky enough to own the 1999 ReSaurus catalogue will know that ReSaurus were planning to release Bendable Plush Toys. Here we can see Komodo Mo and an earlier version of the Crash Bandicoot plush. And that's exactly what these are. The Crash looks totally different to the smaller plush. But that image of Komodo Mo is just a stand-in image of the smaller plush. I guess we may never know what the Komodo Mo plush really looked like. Anyway, it seemed like we were going to get a set of 4 large Bendable Plush Toys in 1999. But they were never released. And it left fans wondering what they were, and why they were cancelled. So what are they? In short, they were a new idea that ReSaurus was trying out at the time. They wanted to create a new kind of collectible toy that merged both plush toys and action figures together, so that you could have a large plush toy and put them in your favourite poses from the video games. I guess they would have had simple bendable wire skeletons inside of them, like a normal bendable toy, you know, to hold their poses. I really wish these could have come out on the market. But why didn't they? In order to find out, I spoke to Mr. Kenneth Lilly, the project manager and product designer at ReSaurus. He told me that in the 1990s, most plush toys in the US were seen as cheap items, and parents didn't expect to spend much on them. Many plush toys of famous IPs weren't even retail items, but instead were used as prizes in claw machines and UFO catchers. Look at Sonic and Mario, and even the play-by-play Crash Bandicoot plushes of today. When ReSaurus made the Crash Bandicoot plush toys for retail, they were marketed as cheaper bag clips and were never intended for arcades. And this worked out perfectly for fans because they remain the greatest and most high quality Crash Bandicoot plushes we've ever gotten. So unfortunately for ReSaurus, the idea of larger plush toys were difficult to sell to mass market retailers. Retailers felt that large plush toys would be compared to cheap prizes in carnivals and crane games, and that it would be difficult to market them at a higher price point. Due to this, the plush toys never got past the prototype stage. They were more like a research and development experiment that were only displayed in Toy Fair to gauge interest and grab attention, but were never really scheduled for production because of the low demand. So what happened to them? Well, nobody knew what happened to them. Until the fascinating book Toys That Time Forgot Volume 2, that I believe was released in 2020. Thanks to this book, we got a much better look at the plushes. On the first page, we get to see the prototype Crash Bandicoot plush in a prototype box. Wow! So that's how they would have been sold in stores. I really hope that box still exists. This Crash is probably the same one used in the ReSaurus catalogue. It looks identical. Also, if we look closer, the book mentions that they would have been wireframing under soft goods. But I know better. Keep watching until the end of the video to find out what was really inside of them. We also get to see some concept art of the Komodo Mo plush, along with an image that is actually just the smaller Komodo Mo plush that was released. Will we ever get to know what Komodo Mo really looks like? But whoa, look at that! 2 Cortexes! And there's Coco! So the Cortex on the right here was shown at Toy Fair, and the one on the left is is nightmare-inducing. Oh my goodness, just look at that face! And the hair! I'm so glad ReSaurus settled on fully stuffed hair for Cortex in the final plush. Yeesh! But look at this. We get a full standing shot of Coco balding. For some reason, the ReSaurus Coco Bandicoots looked a little bald because her hairline was always really far back. They eventually fixed that for the Wave 2 Coco figures, but apparently not on this plush. Anyway, she looks super adorable with her cute smile and teddy bear eyes. This is definitely the final version of Coco that we saw at Toy Fair. These images seem to be courtesy of Jay Borman, who worked at ReSaurus. It's possible that he still owns the plushes, but the images look really 90s, so it's possible these are just old pictures. I'd like to thank my friend Scattered Collector on Instagram for providing these images, as I don't yet own this awesome book. Go and check out his page. So where are the plushes now? Well, speaking of Instagram, some interesting images have surfaced there. The first images arrived from the private collection of my friend ItzAustinCB on Instagram in February of 2022. He'd been contacted by someone looking to pass on some Crash merchandise and managed to get prototype Crash and Komodo Mo, which we'd never seen before. The Crash he has is a different version to the one shown at Toy Fair and is also different to the one in the Toys That Time Forgot book. They look very similar, but look at the position of the eyes and the amount of lines on the teeth. They're totally different plushes. More amazingly though, here's the never before seen Komodo Mo prototype. It is so good to finally know what the large Komodo Mo plush would have looked like after all these years. But it gets better. Later in December 2022, the line's project manager at ReSaurus, Mr. Kenneth Lilly, posted images of his collection from the early 2000s on his Instagram page @CreatorsMaximus. I implore you to follow him. He is an incredible artist and an amazing toy designer. His collection had once hosted all of the original Crash Bandicoot line, as well as the unreleased Roman tiny figure from earlier in the video. Most importantly, it featured several of the large bendable plush prototypes. We can see Coco Bandicoot and both the Komodo Mo and Crash that Austin would later come to own, as well as a previously unseen Dr. Neo Cortex and Crash Bandicoot plush. And this isn't the Cortex from the book, because look, he doesn't have fluffy hair, he has stuffed hair. Mr. Lilly had kept these in his private collection before selling them in the mid-2000s, which is when they entered the collector's market. This means that at least 4 Crash Bandicoots, 2 Coco Bandicoots, 2 Komodo Mo's, and 3 Dr. Neo Cortex plushes were created. The first Crash we saw at Toy Fair, the second one we saw in Mr. Lilly's photograph, as well as the third one that Austin owns, and the fourth one from the catalogue. Austin has the first Komodo Mo we've ever seen, and the other, well, we still don't know. However, Austin's plush makes note that it is number 2, so there could actually be more of these out there. Yee-haw! As for Coco Bandicoot, the one in Mr. Lilly's collection appears to have blue shoes, whereas the one from Toy Fair had pink shoes and looks exactly the same as the one from the Toys That Time Forgot book, making 2 of her. And finally, the Cortex from Toy Fair, the hideous one from the book, and the previously unseen Cortex from Mr. Lilly's collection. But wait, I remember seeing this plush before. Longtime Crash Bandicoot fans will remember the popular deviant artist JenL, who made the comical and now famous Crash Bandicoot plush toy comics featuring the large bendable prototype Cortex. That's the one shown in Mr. Lilly's collection. I absolutely loved seeing these when I was younger, and I have to say it was one of my inspirations for collecting plush toys. When I was a kid, I never realised that this was a prototype, and I used to walk around the shops looking for a big Cortex of my own. Of course, I never found one. So we know at least 2 prototypes live with Austin, 1 lives with JenL, and the others, well, they still exist. But unfortunately, the current location of the Toy Fair Cortex, Crash and Coco Bandicoot, the Blue Shoes Coco, the hideous Cortex, and the other Komodo Mo plushes are unknown. And we may never know where they are, or if they even still exist. But luckily for me, one of them recently entered my care. Oh my god. I can't believe I have this in my... This is something I saw a very long time ago when I was a boy, and I never ever thought I would ever have it in my possession, let alone see other images of it. Look at him! Oh my god! At the beginning of this video, I mentioned that I managed to get one of these incredible plush toys. I got the earlier Dr. Neo Cortex plush, which had previously been in Mr. Kenneth Lilly's collection and was later seen in JenL's famous photos. A childhood icon for me. But how? When I was originally researching these plushes for the video, I reached out to JenL asking for photographs, and she kindly allowed me to purchase it from her. I was overwhelmed by her generosity, and of course I gladly accepted. So let's take an in-depth look at what could have been and the shocking discovery I made. First of all, let's take a look at the Cortex that we did get from ReSaurus. We got this gorgeous mini Cortex bag clip plush clip bag plush clip with a clip on his head. Cool! He has a really tiny body and floppy stuffed limbs. His head is really large and is made in a pale fabric, not yellow. His head and face are well proportioned, and he has a square piece of card or plastic in the top of his head to keep the square shape. No other Cortex plush since has followed this great idea, so they all have round heads. The ReSaurus Cortex's eyes are teddy bear eyes, and his nose, ears, eye bags, teeth and lower lip are all fully stuffed. This is a really high quality plush, unlike the embroidered faces we get today. His eyebrows, beard and hair are all fully stuffed too. The larger prototype is very similar in construction, even being made out of the same fabric, but the differences become apparent when we get to the head portion. His beard and eyebrows are made out of high pile fur, and very long fur at that. I didn't put his beard into this style myself, it's actually sewn this way, as the fur is backed with fleece. However, the details are all there. His eyes are even bigger teddy bear eyes, with the eye bags being sewn on, he has sewn on teeth, and his mouth actually sits inside his larger lip, so it looks really realistic. Unlike his beard and eyebrows, however, the hair is actually stuffed, just like on the smaller toy. This is really interesting. It's obvious that ReSaurus were considering using high pile fur, like on their first release of the Crash Bandicoot plush, and it came out like this. This prototype was obviously made to test both ideas out at the same time. I think it looks really good this way. You can tell this is definitely a test piece because of all the loose threads hanging off of the doll, though this could just be a symptom of time. Thanks to its large size, it also makes way for even more details. The smaller plush has simple yellow mitts for hands, but the larger doll has fully detailed fingers, and his gloves even have three-dimensional cuffs. His hair does have an extra spike at the top, but the back of his head has the same number of 10 spikes. The strangest thing about the larger Cortex has to be his facial proportions. Usually, Cortex's forehead is the largest part of his face, but on this plush, the lower half of his face is bigger than the upper half, making his N look very tiny. What's weirder is that his nose is really long and he has a large protruding philtrum, which is the piece of skin under your nose and above your lip. It looks really off-model compared to ReSaurus' other merchandise of the character. I thought this was a patterning mistake, but when I looked at the smaller plush, he also has a philtrum that is sewn in to give his head a more 3D look. It clearly just didn't work as intended when the pattern was upscaled. However, I couldn't care less. This plush is amazing, not only for its historical value, but also for its huge size. It stands at almost 45 centimeters tall and is the largest of any Cortex plush released to date. Now for the shocking discovery. These plushies aren't bendable at all. There's no wire inside of them. They're articulated. That's right. Inside the plush is a modular armature figure, a clever technique where the pieces can be stuck together kind of like a bionicle, in order to create different sizes and shapes of the various characters. This means that a new armature wouldn't need to be manufactured for each plush. These plushes pose like giant Action Man dolls, or G.I. Joes for you in the US. So let's go over Cortex's articulation. Cortex's leg is articulated in the thigh, as well as in the knee and ankle. All of which can pivot and twist, leading to lots of posability. He doesn't have any torso articulation, and I'm sure that wouldn't work for a plush anyway. His legs connect to a small piece that then connects to his arms. His arms are articulated at the shoulder on ball joints, so they can move in every direction. He also has elbow articulation, but no hand articulation. However, this prototype was made as a proof of concept, so perhaps the later version does have wrist articulation. What surprised me the most about this plush is that he actually has head articulation. He can look up and down. Cortex can look up at the stars, or look down and be really sad. Of course it can't swivel side to side though, as this isn't possible due to it being stitched down. Overall, this is an insane plush to have. I remember in my keychain Crash Bandicoot figure video I said that nothing could top it other than a prototype, and now I finally have one. How crazy is that? This is a one-of-a-kind piece, and although other prototypes were made for the large Bendable Plush Toys, there is only one that looks like this. This really is the definition of a holy grail, except it's not a grail, it's a Cortex plush. And it's not holy. To anyone but me, this thing is my new god. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching this video. The socials of everyone I mentioned in this video will be in the description, so please check them out and tell me in the comments below. Would you have liked these to have been manufactured? Why or why not? Also, please consider liking the video, subscribing to my channel, joining our Discord, and following me on Instagram and Twitter for even more rare Crash Bandicoot merchandise.
Hit subscribe! And don't forget to press the bell icon, you miserable bandicoots!